Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about indirect, or also known as inverse variation. You'll hear throughout this video that I use indirect and inverse interchangeably. So please make sure that you know that both of these mean this type of variation. Now, indirect or inverse variation is when the x values and the y values have an indirect or opposite relationship. So this is different than the direct. The equation for indirect variation is y equals k over x. The y still represents a y variable or a y value. The k still stands for constant, and the x stands for x value. The purpose of indirect variation equation is to find an x value or a y value in any part of the line. So that's exactly like direct variation. However, we have a different relationship with inverse variation. So in a graph, the lines are curved. These curved lines are called parabolas, and they are equidistant from the origin. So what that looks like is kind of a down and looping type of line. So not only do you have one right here in your positives, but you also have it in the negatives. And the distance from here to here and here to here are going to be the same. So what we're going to find out with our equation is where on these parabolas our points are going to be. So let's take a look at our lovely chart. So on this chart, just like with direct variation, we want to see the relationship. So to get from 1 to 2, I'm multiplying by 2. Always remember, you want to find the relationship with multiplication. Now if we look over here, to get from 14 to 7, I can't multiply by 2, but I can multiply by 1/2. Multiplying by 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2. So in this case, we can also view it as multiplying and dividing. So to get from the first x value to the second x value, I need to multiply by 2. To get from my first y value to my second y value, I need to divide by 2. That's where the opposite relationship is, because multiplication and division are opposites. So let's take a look at that again. In order to get from 1 to 7, I need to multiply by 7. And in order to get from 14 to 2, I need to divide by 7. Well, there's that relationship again. I'm multiplying over here and dividing over here. If I can do that for 2 different sets of matches, then that tells me that this is an indirect or inverse relationship. Just like for direct variation, there is an equation in order to get k. K equals y or xy, with x and y being multiplied together, is an equation to find the constant. However, I'm going to show you in a different way. If you want to use this, you may. So here we go. In our example, in an indirect relationship, when x equals 2 and y equals 7, find y when x equals 14. Now, a lot of these steps are going to be the same as direct variation, but we're going to use that different equation. So my first step is to identify my point, or my x and y values to start off with. So I see right here that x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 7. They're separated by the word and, so I know that they're together. So I have x equals 2 and y equals 7 for a point 2, 7. Now I'm going to plug in the numbers into the new inverse equation, which is y equals kx. I don't know what my k value is, and that's what I'm trying to find out. So I have y equals k divided by x, but I'm going to replace my y value with 7 and my x value with 2 to get 7 is equal to k divided by x. Now I need to solve for k. To do that, I need to move this x value. Oh, I apologize. Instead of x, this should be 2. Let me fix that quick. So I need to get that y value or that x value to leave that k alone. And I see that I'm dividing by 2. In order to make any number go to the opposite side of the equal sign, I always do the opposite operation. So instead of dividing by 2, I'm going to multiply by 2. And what I do on one side, I do to the other. Now I have 2 divided by 2, which cancel right out, leaving the k all by itself. And over here, I have 2 times 7, which I know is 14. Now that I have my k value, I can plug in that value into the original equation, y equals k over x, with x and y as variables. So I now have my equation, where I have y equals 14 over x. Now I can finish the problem. Find y when x equals 14. So I'm going to plug in this x value into my equation to have y equals 14 over 14. And I can do that math to get y equals 1. So that means that I also have a point on that curved line at 114. And there you go. Inverse variation is very similar to direct variation, but it's very important to know the difference in the equation.